Whole team shining, we stars, big dip. Get a lot of haystack gang in the sip. Niggas ain't real, nigga. You gotta feel me, nigga. Smile in my face behind my back, you trying to kill me, nigga. You say you got beat, say what you wanna do. You screaming, fuck me, now nigga, fuck you. You ain't hard at me. Couple kick dough, couple robbery. Nigga get extorted, get a boy, and he don't pay no fee. Posted in the north, got into the pole recipe. I be cooking chicken, bitch, like I'm in rotisserie. I got all my haters, man. I know that they sick of me. Who the fuck you think he is, motherfucking immigrant? Honestly, pay up no attention, lay up under me. Haters call me fees because I'm everywhere they wanna be. Ladies, man, kept me with more hundreds than a bumblebee. Say she got a husband, but she always wanna suck the D. State gang, true simple, who these niggas wanna be. I've been getting money since a younger, I've been pushing feet. Stay strapped, gotta watch your back when you're in the streets. Friends turn the phones, never know who your enemy. I was in Detroit, didn't keep the same energy. West side down the slide. What's going on, James? I was on some demon time, nigga talking about killing me. They no business, let's see all that shit that you gon' do to me. Come outside, why you scared? I thought that you Kennedy. We don't float, we pulling up, we different down in Tennessee. Right through the city, I'm with it, I got my nine. Mr. Pretty cheated, they get it, I got the gun. With a white sweater, consulting, I'm on the same line. Nine beats, women, she foreign, she come from bang. Ride through the city, I'm with it, I got my nine. Mr. Pretty cheated, they get it, good evening. Welcome in. I'm on the same line. Old school bitch, call her a reefer. Shawty so fine, shawty she a keeper. Smoke that reefer, prefer. Call me one look like Maya, my blood, he ain't playing, he only talking the numbers. I time to whip it and shit it, my money coming in bundles. Different flavors of kush, orange, grape, apple. If a nigga trapping, it's gonna be a disaster. No money and bitches. I think I got like 4 crazy news stories tonight. I really can't complain. I ain't got this many. Yeah, but I got like 4. Very, very interesting and strange, I would say the least. And one of them just kind of when we talked about the other day about these teachers, these female teachers and kids. I found a story on Law and Crime that just listed about 10 teachers that have done this currently. They would go retro to history. They did current people. Hey, Candy. Candy, what you in the cast? You in the cast, Candy? Whole team shadow, we stars, we get a lot of haystack gang in the city. I still gotta get my music in, even though I ain't got the strength. Still gotta get it in. Give y'all time to get y'all weed and y'all drinks and come on in the beer. Never been a hoe, I stay on go for what the deal is. Nigga talking reckless, shooters, bitches with the quickness. Name being sorry, baby, asking for forgiveness. Bow, 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 live biscuit. All my niggas wildin', they done labeled us a misfit. Wake up every morning to a drink, I got the words. Oh shit, did nobody come to see the old, it's a focus. Shoot 100 shots, no reloaded. Master of the game, you would think I'm into coded. This nigga spit this trippin', rapping like I'm golden. Home with my money, you gon' put me to the oldest. What you broke your hand punching somebody? That's why blood violence is the best answer. You shoot niggas, not touch them. Can't break your arms or your hand if you shoot them. They don't go no beat. Stay game, true simple, bitch, I bet we gon' eat. Get jammed, get a lawyer, make it burn it, don't speak. Pour I need some more, nigga, had a long week. Shout out to my plug, he showed me love, we out in Long Beach, I'm too geek. Walking by myself, I left with 2 freaks. Ooh, we, nothing in their mouth, and know they booty. Austin Power swag, yeah, baby, this is booty. You can call me money, boy, or you can call me nudie. Good nigga, turkey chicken, let me get a 2-beat. Top down, 2-seater, let me get a 2-breed. Got a homie steady chopper, kicking back like Bruce Lee. Lately I've been in the zone, I guess I'm in my 2-3. Don't call my phone for nothing less than a Q3. Feeling like the Migo, cause my bitch is bad and bougie. All my haters look at all them bitches just some blue fish. Came a long way, I like to introduce the new me. Standing on business like I'm king or like I'm Drewski. Call me Ron, cause I like myself a Jew. Oh my goodness! And for a fundraiser in adult sanction that? Yeah, them folks on some Dan Snyder shit. I never been a hoe, I stay on go to what to get me. Nigga talking reckless, shooting bitch and put the quick hit. Name please, sorry, baby, asking for forgiveness. Bow, 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 limp biscuit. Never been a hoe, I stay on go to what to get me. Nigga talking reckless, shooting bitch and put the quick hit. Name please, sorry, baby, asking for forgiveness. Bow, 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 limp biscuit. Never been a hoe, I stay on go to what to get me. Nigga talking reckless, shooting bitch and with the quick shit. Name please, sorry, baby, asking for forgiveness. Bow, 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 limp biscuit. The game's so cold, but I'm so hot. Same old shit, still on the top. Yes, and it was in the pimp rap. So the ducks were in there watching this shit. They sanctioned it, and they watched it. They ain't telling them to stop or nothing. They just let them do what they wanted to. It had to be a white school. Ain't no niggas doing it. First of all, there's not a black school in the world where niggas want to lick peanut butter off somebody's armpits. I'm dope boy, fresh meat, dope boy, not. That make down, headed straight to the top. Pirates, this boy, walk to the top. Listen to the look, turn a little to the lot. Right hand on the cell phone, take an order. Left hand, 360, over to the lot. Blue holler, tip cap, switch it on the lot. Stay gang, true to the same beat, stop. Laughing at you, hate the vibe, come through the paper, say, long live the bottom, won't you meet me at the top? That nigga ain't shit, yeah, get that a lot. Won't be deterred, and I won't be stopped. Shaq, these number when I push up on the block. 24/7, cause the hustle don't stop. 31 flavor, take an order like a waiter. I be selling more gas than the local truck stop. 1,200 strong, 4 pounds for the top. Got me shining, I'm a star. Ask about me, I am a legend. They gon' tell you who we are. Fuck these niggas, fuck these bitches. Get money, all I know, no love. 20 bitches, never saving these hoes. The game so the adults participated in it. Oh. And the national news ain't talking about this. Other than the link you got, this is crazy. I'm sitting at that tunnel. Thinking about the past, yeah, gon' get some nice game, yeah, at the spot. If we ever was short, then it's back to the block, you probably get shot. Every day the certain change, we getting money, that's one thing, it's never gonna stop. Real dope boy, do what it takes, playing high stakes, living to die. Do your time, you be quiet, no matter who you are, don't get what you got. Stack it up, that's the bond, the same fresh. Oh, they think that you're not. Take you roll with a hoe, they gon' let you go, somebody gonna say you ain't hot. Just the best thing yourself, no worry about nobody else, there ain't no hand out. If you say the same, put it on the train, let them see you ain't tied down. Got a couple rain, did a lot of things, I ain't with it, don't talk about it. Give me a trade, get you go, she gon' show up and show out. So don't ask me what the dope is, cause you already around. The game's so cold, but I'm so hot. Same old shit, still on the block. On the game, on the game, up in the trap, I'm dope boy, fresh with dope boy, not. Dope boy, fresh with dope boy, not. Dope boy, fresh with dope boy, not. Same game, up in the trap, I'm dope boy, fresh with dope boy, not. The game's so cold, but I'm so hot. Same old shit, still on the block. On the game, up in the trap, I'm dope boy, fresh with dope boy, not. Dope boy, fresh with dope boy, not. Dope boy, fresh with dope boy, not. Bang, young nigga came up in the trap, I'm dope boy, fresh with dope boy, not. Truth, I just seen your commune wall. Welcome to the Haters Won't Be Dead Club. Welcome. God damn it, welcome. It's really strange that shit like that is allowed to be typed, but it is what it is. It's one of them motherfuckers. They really mad. They want you to be triggered. They want you to be triggered. I had to say, see, I almost did it. I almost did it. I'm not. The lady is blacked out to me. She blacked out. She don't exist. She don't exist. All right, strange and shocking news stories is what we doing tonight. I found this interesting interview with Akon and this lady too from a year ago. I may do that one because he said some stuff in there that made people say he was misogynistic and all that shit. But if you listen to what he said, the nigga made sense. He didn't say anything wrong. Oh, that's I just seen Myron asses live. See, I'm triggered. What the fuck is it? Listen to what he said. I'm triggered because I'm tired of hearing people talking about Diddy is a distraction from the election and all of this shit. Like people are dumb. So you can't be interested in Diddy and still know who the fuck you voting for. You can't do two things at once. How the fuck is that a distraction? Where you can literally be looking at Diddy and then on another device watching everything else going on in the world. I'm sick of niggas in that shit there. Now, the best conspiracy theory I've heard about this Diddy stuff came from who said that? First, it was Ed Lovell, and then it was somebody else that
Hello.
said it. Hey,
I just
welcome
want
to
to
the They
let you
Want Me
know.
Dead Club.
Welcome. Well,
To the They Want Me Dead Club. Welcome.
okay.
It's good to have you.
Okay, well, anywho, whatever. So I was told, even though I'm not supposed to be here, I was told to continue to show up from work for work until the investigation is done.
In guard, you can't ask that. You can't ask people in 2024 if they're a boy or a girl, sir. You can't do that. That's politically incorrect because I could identify with both of them. I could be non-binary.
Wow.
That's rude, sir. That is rude. This with this with on live like this, all the new weird
Oh
people
yeah,
come
I
in here.
forgot about that. But yeah.
But the most interesting conspiracy theory I've heard is none of this happened. None of this happened until Diddy decided to sue the people that he was in partnership with Ciroc and De Leon. Now, Diddy sued them and was saying that they weren't trying to invest the money in him and they wanted to pigeonhole him into an urban market with De Leon like he did Ciroc. And he was mad that they spent $400 million to acquire George Clooney's brand, Casamigos, which was selling with the desires. They spent 400 million. They trying to make their money back. They pushed the shit. And Diddy was he sued them, said they were discriminating against him. They settled out of court, but shortly after, the cast and shit came up, and then this. There are people that saying he may have pissed off some people in power in the Billionaires Boys Club. That's actually a legitimate conspiracy, just because the timeline adds up with how all this stuff started. Yes, I'm black. Why what color are you in, guard? You sound like a Arabian, like you sound like an Iranian, an Arab. Well, fucking not Iranian. You sound Arabic. So are you Arabic in guard? Are you Arabic? Hey, Erica. What are you? Are you black, Arab, Palestinian? Oh, you from Africa? Okay. What's going on in the motherland? We know a YouTuber in Lagos. Okay, let me stop looking at this damn chick. So I'm on. professional troller. Where am I starting? Now, which story am I doing first? Um, oh no, I'll probably do Ruby. Yeah, we'll do Ruby Frank last. Not Ruby Frank. Okay, well, we're not going to be able to see the body cam, but there's no need to see it. The story is his body cam. 10-year-old shot and killed woman arguing with her mom.
Killed my baby, man. That little girl fired a gun with one hand. She's 10 years old. And she killed my baby, man. That little girl fired a gun with one hand.
So we're hearing the boyfriend of the descendant or decedent or whatever the fuck you say it, he talking to the police saying the little girl shot my baby, man. She's 10. She was shooting it just like a pro.
She's 10 years old.
Take a look at this newly released body camera video that shows the moments after a 10-year-old girl shot and killed a Florida woman.
It's crazy. How the little girl had the gun. The little girl had the gun. She pulled the trigger. Shot my baby in the face.
All this after the little girl's mother had been in a fight.
I'm sure she didn't try to shoot it in the face. I'm sure she just wasn't able to control it. And I'm pretty sure she didn't try to. She tried to shoot it though.
With the victim.
You know what happened? They
Am I with the God? I don't understand that question. Nichar, I don't understand that question.
was arguing that little girl came out and shot her. So she shouldn't be with my mama.
The Orlando Police Department just released more than 75 videos from the early stages of the investigation, including when the shooter's mother is detained.
Sit down.
Make me sit down. So here's
Candy, is there a video for that? Is it just a news article?
what happened. It was Memorial Day 2022 in Orlando.
Sure, never mind. That's a stupid question. No, it wasn't a video about it because it was told to people after the event took place. I'm sure one of them kids got it though. Anything within the cell phone era, I'm sure one of them kids recorded it.
Florida. Witnesses told investigators that the victim, LaShawn Rogers, was out grilling when she got into an argument with Lucretia Isaac. The pair got physical, and eventually Isaac handed her 10-year-old daughter a bag with a gun inside. That's when the 10-year-old opened fire, hitting Rogers. She died as a result of her injuries.
Oh, hell no. The baby shouldn't be charged with nothing. The mama should be because she gave her the bag, meaning she told her to shoot her. Ain't no real niggas in Africa, G. Stop it. There ain't no real niggas in Africa. Y'all done let the Chinese and the white man come over there and take over. Stop. You kill some of them, then I believe you a real nigga. You got to be a Somali refugee or something for me to believe you. I'm just saying, I don't believe you.
Your mama hit her first. She did. She hit both first. Why would you give the girl that daughter? That girl shot my girl for hearty. That little girl's a monster. You got one.
And if y'all don't get her out, we gonna get that bitch to the bottom.
I swear to God.
Body camera video shows Orlando officers on the scene of the crowded apartment complex. Multiple videos show officers approach the apartment where Isaac and her daughter are said to be hiding out.
You're in the police department.
Oh, they want to kill the little. They ain't even mad at the mama no more. They said they gonna be. They told the police, y'all better get her. We gonna get this little bitch up out of there. Yikes! Did y'all hear about what story was that? Dang it! This reminds me of the story in Houston. It's gonna come back to me in a second.
You're inside. Come out with your hands up. Do it now. You're in the police department. department, if you're inside, come out with your hands up, do it now.
This video shows the same moments from another angle.
Atlanta Police Department, you're inside, come out with your hands up, do it now. Atlanta Police Department, if you're inside, come out with your hands up, do it now.
Witnesses on the scene tell officers they saw Isaac run inside after the shooting.
Who's this lady here? She's the one who saw her run inside.
They were also saying, yeah, when I got here, the light was on. About 10 minutes after we started, it turned off. So there's someone for sure. Yes, all the bottom of the whole bottom.
Body camera video also
second.
shows first responders blocking off the chaotic scene and redirecting people away from the apartments.
Hey, go that way. Please, stay away from these windows. Hey, hold up. Can you go around that way and around? This window right here is in play. Hey, don't walk this way. That window's in play. Apparently the suspect's inside that window right there. Tape. Can somebody get tape and tape this up so nobody comes this way? Yes. Go ahead, jump. Can you go help over there? Yeah, they're going. I sent people. Thank you. Hey, you guys can't go this way? Can you guys walk around?
Did y'all hear the story about the Uber driver that hit the baby and the family pulled that nigga out the car and beat his ass?
That building is in play. That window right there is. Hey, don't walk this way. Hey, hold on. Don't walk this way. We don't want people on that window right there. That window's also in play?
They already got a gun. She just killed somebody. You said no, Missy Lou? Hold on, damn it, I got it. No, I'll share that video. Hold on, let me share that video on my community post. You have to. Well, I don't know if they're gonna show it. They're gonna talk about it. There's too many videos.
I need. Can you help him? Hey, him? Can you move your car out? Apparently, 10-year-old in this apartment right here. This window is in play. That door, and there's a window on the back side.
Where's the mama? Is she in the house? Oh yeah, she is in there with the mama.
Stop!
I need all those people gone. Take them on the other side of that building.
No, hey, you're good. You're good. Tape it this way first. Hey, all those people gotta.
Did they put these bitch numbers on?
I know you're in charge today, but right now, can you stand right here and make sure? Yeah, I got you. And make sure nobody crosses this. I got this. Right here.
At the same time, first responders surround the home where Isaac and her daughter are waiting inside.
Yeah, saying the mom got in an argument with the girl that got shot. 10-year-old.
He was running. You got a broken window on this side. He was running south of home.
You're looking at the angles.
If you got cover there, you're good behind the car. But I don't want to be like this. Go back that way.
Yeah, there you go.
See, I told you I'd be getting clickbaited. I thought they would have told
Just don't
me
want
what
you
the story.
anywhere near that window. Because apparently there's a suspect in there, and I just don't want you guys anywhere near that. If they come out, we're gonna push them that way. Is the way the door opens. Rodney will have the best view of everything. Here is where the possible from somebody that was just saying right there. That door pops open, right? Be mindful of that.
Stay inside the apartment. A crowd broke.
Right? Be mindful that that window is in play too, so stay tight. So that way you can see the door, but you're not overexposing
we
yourself.
listening to the police scanner. Hey, Snow.
As Isaac and her daughter stay inside the apartment, a crowd grows outside. Body camera video captures multiple women screaming, swearing, and threatening Isaac.
They're talking to a 10-year-old.
What the wrong with you?
I be cussing a 10-year-old too. Now they talking about the mama calling the mama ignorant because really the mama ain't shit. Cause instead of her doing the shit herself, she handed the bag to her daughter. You the one got to fighting. You the one felt like you got your ass whooped. I ain't never known the nigga to win for a shoot. For what? You won. And instead of you doing your own sliding, you put your 10-year-old daughters like your ass need to get charged as an accessory. Both of y'all need to go for the same thing. Luckily, she'll be able to get out when she's 21 because they'll see she was 10 years old following your damn direction. That's what children typically do. If this had been a gang leader telling a young nigga to go kill somebody, it would be the same exact situation.
They're saying just one more.
I can't wait till the real body cam footage of this come out. There's no editing.
The police saving you. I want to make it to Brooklyn. She ain't going to Brooklyn tonight. I want to meet her. All right. All right. I want to meet you.
I hope they is directing all this anger at the mom. I can kind of understand if they were doing it to the 10-year-old, but they got to realize this a 10-year-old and she just did what her mama pretty much told her to do. Hey, Kashia.
Why y'all won't let her out that car They in the house trying to get that story together. They can't get that story together. Both of them down. The police saving you. I want to make it to Brooklyn. She ain't going to Brooklyn tonight. I want to meet her.
Damn. So I gotta go to Brooklyn tonight. I don't care what it is.
Why y'all won't let her out that car?
The crowd when the little girl's father arrives to the scene.
Father of the daughter that shot. Okay.
Where's the man in here? Where the fuck that man in here? Well, never mind. Emotions are high. They just lost a little bit. It was everybody part right now. He a concerned father. Damn, wait a minute. I know these. I'm sorry. Oh, never mind. I ain't gonna cuss him out. I know these women didn't have the audacity to say you should have been there. He there right now. What the hell? So the man can't work or nothing. He not the one that was out there fighting and shit. His baby mama was. Again, y'all are mad at the 10-year-old like the 10-year-old we're doing strange news stories, Nika, and we're listening to a story of a 10-year-old who shot who her mama and killed who her mom was fighting because her mama went and got a gun with a bag and gave it to her instead of the mama. And the mama went and got the bag, and instead of her taking the gun out and using it, she gave it to her daughter to fuck her life up as well. And not only that, mom, like she actually killed somebody. She has to live with the fact she took a life the rest of her life. You don't. You're not gonna have nightmares of shooting that person in the face. She's gonna remember all of that shit: the blood spatter, the brain fragment, the face breaker. She shot in the face. She wherever she had in the face, bone splat. She gonna remember all of that shit vividly. Not you.
Together what led up to the shooting.
You don't see it happens?
When it was yeah, before it happened, yeah.
You alright?
Yeah, the lady was.
Let me see. The story was posted 6 hours ago. Oh, this is in 2022.
The lady walked up to her that walked up here. Yeah, I said like something like, "Why you back talking to somebody else or whatever? Like, why you back talking to her?" Like she's mad because they been talking or that's not that. And she's telling her like, "Your friends, whatever, like that." She said the third, and we was telling her like, "Go back in the house." She was gonna help in the house or whatever like that. Because the devil, the lady came up and said, being squad. And she did that or whatever like that. The lady daughter wasn't with her. Lady daughter wasn't with her. So lady daughter had to have been in the house like her.
Oh, she did. I did not know this.
Come out here.
I seen this shit pop up 6 hours
We
ago
walked
on Lord
in the house, like
Pride.
she pushed us in the house and shut the door.
So she was only out here and happened?
No, it was more people out here. When she shot, like everybody ran.
Yeah.
When she shot her, she was right here. So when she walked like right there, the little girl shot her, and the mama got the gun from her
You tell it.
or whatever like that. And when the mama got the gun from her, she was kind of like standing or still like standing over, like walking over her or whatever.
Oh, so this ain't strange to y'all at all. This is, yeah, I've heard this before.
And that's me.
I'm interested. Did they
Others
apprehend
on the
him?
scene wonder whether the 10-year-old will face charges.
Well, this the body cam footage.
Well, due to her age, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard. Yeah, but
She could be bound over to 21.
I mean, she's still gonna be charged.
But she handed her the bag.
The mama, yeah, the mama ruined this girl's life.
Well, you guys need to be very specific when you take.
Well, I wasn't here. I was home. Okay. But she was here. That's why I asked her. Did you talk to the police?
Yeah.
They need to know
Yeah,
this.
because then they
Can charge the mama.
Definitely.
Well, I mean, she gets charged with something for sure.
No, she need to be charged with accessory. She provided the fucking weapon. It was her fight. Or she need to be charged with accessory or the same shit. Whatever the 10-year-old charged with, the mama need to get charged right along with her.
That girl, I know that girl when she was a little girl. We all been living out. They all been living out.
Right.
I just moved out of here.
They do that for the minion.
3 years ago, my grandbaby got shot. Thank the Lord she lived. She okay, she lived.
Then there's the first-hand witnesses who describe what happened, both in formal and informal interviews.
Oh my God! When I was at the station, 10 years old.
Slide.
She got a very hard. I didn't even know what it was, but I know my girl said she didn't know what you're talking about. What's up, the girl was drunk. She was. Yeah, she tried to show, and then she got mad and got loud and then hit bone. I'm like, she hit her back. And then I tried to break it up, tell boom, come on. Then when she stopped it for me, by the time I talked about it, I guess that's what my mama got. I put it back in the purse. Because the punk that man I ran in the house. What color purse? Beige, tan, pink, 10 color like that.
Beige, tan, and pink, nigga, that's 3 different colors.
I didn't feel, I just, she put it back. I know, she put it back in there. Then took it out of the bag. I just, it's crazy. All the little girl had the gun, the little girl had the gun. She pulled the trigger. She shot my baby in her face.
Who were you in a relationship with?
LaShawn Rogers.
LaShawn Rogers.
The victim.
Okay.
My baby. Oh my God.
What?
Oh my God.
Best you tell you can. Tell me what happened tonight.
I don't really know. She came arguing, the lady. She came. First she passed by, then she came back, and then she said something. My girl got loud and said, "Take a seat," because there was some old argument that the judge, of course, she came, but she got drunk. So now she come up because she's drunk now. So it made me think that she had a plan. Cause anyway, they were arguing, right? Then she went and knocked on her neighbor door to prove that what is this lady talking about, right? Okay. I'm my back to them. I'm trying to get food in the grill. They get loud, and then I heard the girl say, you, and my girl started to cuss her back too. And she hit my girl first. And my lady hit her back. Then it come out onto the deck in the breeze, like out with the thing was really. And I was trying to hold her back, and then she reached and hit again. I tried to tell her, come on, baby, come go in the house. Come go in the house. She said, you. And started away from me. So by the time I turned on like this, her daughter had a gun in her ear. I think that was the plan. I think they came to kill my baby. That's how I think. Her daughter had a gun. She tried to snatch it on her daughter's head. Like, she actually watched over. She said, give me another shot. And she shot my baby. The little girl just shot her. I said, she hit my mama, but your mama hit my baby first. That's all I'm saying. You just shot my baby for nothing. Oh my God. The little girl, she killed my baby. That little girl fired her gun with one hand. She's 10 years old.
With one hand?
When the lady hit Bone like kicked her shoes off. Right there in the freezer, she kicked her shoes off, and she hit the lady back. When she hit the lady back, the lady gave her daughter a book bag or whatever that book.
See, the guy didn't see all of that. It happened so fast for him. He didn't see all that because he said he thought that was the plan, as if they was trying to lure. But no, he didn't see the mom give the daughter the book bag. What kind of fight was this, though? She was able to go retrieve a damn book bag.
Shoes off. Right there in the freezer, she kicked her shoes off, and she hit the lady back. When she hit the lady back, the lady gave her daughter a book bag or whatever that book bag. She had a book bag on her back all the time, but you just look at somebody, you're not really thinking it's like a backpack, like whatever. Everybody carries a book bag, whatever like that. So she handed the daughter the book bag. When she handed the daughter the book bag, nobody really wasn't paying attention to her, but the little girl was like shuffling with the book bag, whatever. But nobody really wasn't paying no attention. You know, you start combing your eye, like you're not paying attention because the fight is right here. So, you know, he's like trying to break them up, like stop, you know, just stop or whatever like that. So all you heard was like it was in a matter of she hit Bone kicked her shoes off, Bone hit her back, she handed her the book bag. They probably exchanged like 2 or 3 punches, and like that's what you heard. And everybody like, oh, and started running. And I turned around, and the girl was the one that had the gun, and she was like, she was like, my mama. And the mama got the gun from her and was like walking over Bone again, like as if she was going to shoot her again.
Eventually, the girl and her mother are taken from the scene and driven to the police station. Multiple body camera videos show Isaac yelling from the backseat of a squad car and her wide range of emotions.
Get our attorney. Don't say my child. It's on camera. Don't say my child unless you get our attorney. Okay, and I'm telling you that before y'all even start talking to her. Don't say my child unless you got our attorney.
We have not said.
Okay, I know you ain't say no yet. Okay. Don't say my child unless you got our.
What's up?
I'm talking to my baby.
Oh, you're talking to your baby?
I sure was.
Okay, I just heard y'all.
Okay.
What's up?
I'm telling my baby I love her.
Okay.
She
said the same. No, not right now.
I really can't tell her, please.
No, I can tell her that. I mean, she's been saying the same thing, okay? But unfortunately,
my baby, like real, my baby.
And we can't right now, okay? When the officers get here and talk to you and do all that, then we'll be able to, okay? It shouldn't be that much longer, okay? Just sit tight. All right, we're gonna go upstairs.
I got them folks just sitting in the back of the car in the park at the police station.
About me having no shoes on.
She's still drunk. I can't talk to her right now.
The I'm detained for. Can you tell me that?
Go upstairs.
You can't tell me what I'm detained for.
Motherfucker said, "What am I detained for?" Cause you helped your daughter kill somebody, man. That's why you being detained.
No, come on.
Like no, on camera, like you can't tell me what I'm detained for.
Don't make
So now I'm resisting, right?
Yeah, if you don't come with me, that's
But you
what's
ain't
gonna
tell me
happen.
what I'm detained for though.
And in an investigation. Just like how you told me earlier, you
So
don't want me to violate your rights, I'm not going to.
My baby in that car?
Yes.
I'm being cooperating because I ain't got time for this shit.
Soon, Isaac is detained in a holding room inside the Orlando Police Department.
Am I being arrested?
You're being detained right now. We've been over this.
Am I being arrested?
Okay,
So
do you need anything?
I ain't been arrested, right?
You're not allowed to leave. You're being detained.
What detain means? Tell me.
You ain't allowed to leave.
Detain means.
She drunk.
You know, give me the definition. Like that's not just the definition.
Like I said, when the detectives get here, they'll answer all your questions.
Okay. You keep saying that.
Do you need anything else? Do you need anything else?
Your rights either, right?
Do you need anything else? Okay.
Your rights either, right?
Sit down.
Make me sit down.
Okay.
Okay. Make me sit down. I want some comfort. I'm cold.
We are working on it.
No,
Sit down.
he just said, oh yeah, they gave me my daughter. Like so, y'all. Like y'all, cause y'all really like being nasty to me, and I'm not even being nasty, y'all, bro. Like for real.
What can we do? Relax for a second.
All I want to do is motherfucker get some clothes and speak to the people that's investigating the little situation. My daughter be
It's not a
going
hotel, man.
like,
They don't just have fucking coverage laying around.
So, you need to go to the bathroom? We'll walk her there?
I'm not gonna say you, but I did.
No, I already know. Well, we already know because we saw it.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna take you to the bathroom. Yeah, I mean, she told us. Okay, so go to the bathroom.
She did a what?
Yeah, but I did take this.
No, okay. I appreciate the honesty.
Oh, she
After
said she
6
took the
hours
cuff
in the
off.
holding
She
room,
slipped it
officers
off.
tell Isaac she's being arrested.
I'm Officer Walls, you're in the police department, okay? Were you aware that you're gonna be placed under arrest and transported to Orange County? Okay. I had to get the paperwork for it. I forgot already, but I have the form for you. I'll be able to explain that for you, okay? Are you able to stand up for me? Yeah, just put your hands behind your back. I'm not investigating anything on that. I'm simply transporting you.
Right now, no. They will reach out and make contact. And then Isaac is told what she's being charged with.
Manslaughter by culpable negligence.
Good.
What's that mean? You don't know?
No, I have to look at the statute. Aggravated assault with a firearm. Neglect storage of firearm and neglect of child. Those are the charges that are being fixed.
Isaac pleaded not guilty to those charges and is set to head to trial on April 29th. Because of her daughter's age at the time of the shooting, we don't know her name or any details about whether she's been charged. Reporting for Law and Crime, I'm Sierra Gillespie.
We begin with a Channel 2 Action News exclusive. Authorities say gangs are using drones to drop.
Okay, drone repair shop owner arrested, accused of helping gangs smuggle contraband into prisons. White folk.
Contraband into prisons. And they believe the owner of this drone repair shop and one of his workers are part of the operation. Good evening. I'm George Estevez. Justin Farmer has a night off.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Linda Stouffer. It's believed to be the largest criminal operation of its kind in Georgia history. Agents uncovered ecstasy, meth, guns, and cell phones at dozens of prisons. New at 6, Channel 2 investigative reporter Mark Winnie is live tonight. Mark, this investigation focused on drone drops into Georgia prisons.
And the key
And the key is what it kept out of Georgia prisons. Georgia Department of Corrections special agent says Operation Skyhawk culminated today with raids targeting one of many networks at the focus of the investigation. Networks including one involving a business called Thunder Drones and drone drops of drugs, cell phones, and more into Georgia prisons. Are you involved in drone drops of contraband into Georgia prisons? Not that I know of. All we do is repair drones. He was in communications with inmates within the Georgia Department of Corrections and their associates on the outside. Including gang members? Absolutely. About making drone drops, contraband drops. You don't know who you're repairing them for, who you're providing them to? Most of our business is consumer business. We repair drones for local Atlanta and interstate. We did electronic interceptions on Mr. Robert Schwartz, his business here, Thunder Drones, and inmates and associates of inmates. Have you broken the law? No, sir. The message that Governor Kemp gave me a year ago when I took over his job to crack down on gangs and contraband, that's exactly what we're doing here. Georgia Department of Corrections, GDC Commissioner Tyrone Oliver says corrections agents thundered into a business called Thunder Drones in Gwinnett County, armed with a search warrant an arrest warrant for Robert Schwartz involving drone drops of contraband into Georgia prisons. He says drones shown as outside Thunder Drones were among more than 50 drones seized in 2 simultaneous raids. And if the allegations prove true in court, he anticipates Schwartz will be dropping into prison for an extended stay. This will be the largest gang RICO case in the history of the state of Georgia and originated by the men and women here at Georgia Department of Corrections. The commissioner says prosecutors are working with GDC special agents to ask grand juries across the state to return RICO and gang indictments against Schwartz and many others. If you face gang and or RICO charges, what's your response? All I do is repair drones. I've been doing it. I've been repairing radio control things for 50 years. I don't know what they're even here for. We stopped roughly 170 prison drops during the course of this investigation. GDC Special Agent Greg Phillips says the investigation started in November 2022, led to the recovery of lots of drugs, including 51 pounds of what appeared to be ecstasy. But while they are not lab tested yet, Phillips says he believes many of the pills contain deadly fentanyl. He says takedowns outside prisons during the investigation, Operation Skyhawk, yielded 22 guns he believes were intended for security for the drone operations. And 273 cell phones were recovered before they made it into prisons, with a prison value of contraband totaling around $7 million. We've arrested 146 individuals associated with contraband drops. Out of those 146, 8 of them are correctional officers or were. Did you have any role in drone drops into state
bad? 8 out of 146
prisons? Is that a yes or no?
No comment.
No comment. Did you break the law?
No.
Commissioner says Thunder Drones employee Nelda Albert was also arrested on charges related to drone drops of contraband and inmate communications. Commissioner Oliver says the second raid was on Schwartz's home.
An agricultural drone, a drone this size could actually lift a human being.
You believe this was part of the operation?
Don't know yet. Still early in the investigation.
Gloves are off. There's full transparency. We know we have an epidemic in our prisons with contraband, and we're going to go get it.
Phillips says in a briefing he reminded officers the raids were on Maundy Thursday, day of Christ's Last Supper.
It represents humility and selflessness and service to others.
Feel like you fulfilled that today?
Absolutely.
Now, Commissioner Oliver says while 8 GDC officers were arrested in the investigation, it was good GDC officers who arrested them. Now, Matt Wolf says, while we were at the house, 2 guys pulled up suddenly outside Thunder Drones, tried to leave, and a search of the car turned up a stolen gun and a drone, and one was arrested. We used photos from the Georgia Department of Corrections in our report. Reporting live, Mark Winnie, Channel 2 Action News.
They will come to get their drone.
Tonight, a Fox 10 Investigates exclusive.
Okay. 3 Arizona strip clubs drug customers and charged their credit cards.
Lawsuit claims 3 Valley strip clubs used an elaborate scheme to charge customers' credit cards for excessively high amounts without authorization.
Nearly 20 alleged victims sued these clubs, claiming they were drugged and robbed in VIP rooms. Fox 10 investigator Justin Lum joins us live now with a story you will only see here on Fox 10.
Left incapacitated, waking up lost and confused to find several credit card transactions worth tens of thousands of dollars. That's how plaintiffs describe what happened to them at 3 clubs The total amount of money charged between them easily clears $1 million. The alleged victims feeling violated and stripped of peace of mind. Dinner and drinks. Take a drive and you'll notice 3 strip clubs on this stretch: Dream Palace in Tempe, Skin Cabaret, and Bones Cabaret in Scottsdale. All 3 are now at the center of a civil lawsuit referred to as sister clubs. The latest complaint and demand for a jury trial filed back in January. The complaint accuses the ownership of racketeering and conspiracy, as well as several other allegations. There are now nearly 20 plaintiffs in the case. We spoke to 2 who want to remain anonymous. We'll call the first alleged victim Joe. Joe says he and his friends were at Bones Cabaret 4 years ago when he got separated after going to the bathroom.
I remember kind of walking through what I thought was like a cloud of like either perfume or makeup or something, like dusty from one of the kind of like cracks of lights that was kind of coming through. And that's when I ended up actually in a VIP room and started to get these symptoms that felt not alcohol related, something
to the 8 people that
else.
Do you believe you were drugged?
I do, yes.
Joe confirms he did not take a drug test, nor did other plaintiffs in the case, but they all say they became incapacitated after entering VIP rooms.
I felt like I kind of didn't have control of the situation. That was really the first instance that I knew.
Joe says he couldn't get out of the VIP room while his friends couldn't get in before he was moved to Dream Palace. The next day, he discovered several charges on multiple credit cards. How much was the total?
Just under $72,000.
Joe's not alone. Fox 10 obtained Scottsdale police reports specifically linked to the clubs mentioned in the lawsuit. In September of 2021, a financial crimes detective says he started seeing many cases reported by alleged victims detailing common factors like VIP rooms, having memory loss, signing and thumbprinting paperwork, photos taken of them, and extremely high credit card charges. Reports say patrons visited from several different states, telling police they were brought into these VIP rooms.
Just confused, felt lost, spaced out. I had no clue where I was at that point.
Another plaintiff we'll call Bobby describes the same experience. Bobby admits to only 2 transactions he agreed to, paying for drinks and a private dance. But after that, he says he authorized nothing else at Skin Cabaret. He later found 8 transactions on his credit card account.
Didn't think that these were actually legitimate transactions at that point. It just seemed unconscionable that this would even happen.
His total amount of charges, the highest of all the plaintiffs.
$181,000.
And the fallout has been traumatic.
Certainly strangled not only myself, my family, wife, had to get my parents involved. We had little children as well, so just the impact emotionally was pretty difficult to bear.
Joe is in the Air Force, stationed in Arizona, now feeling the stress.
It's been literally life and career altering for me. My career took a detour.
I know this nigga did not cite the wife and the kids when he talking about getting ripped off by a strip club. Man, if you don't shut your ass up.
That off of the trajectory that I had worked hard to provide for myself.
They all tell the same story, yet none of them have met.
Rod Galarza is the attorney representing nearly 20 plaintiffs in the lawsuit. Police reports reveal how the VIP room process works. After negotiating a price with the hostess, the customer signs a contract, provides a credit card, ID, gives a thumbprint, and takes a photo. But as the lawsuit states, plaintiffs believe they were somehow drugged, claiming they barely remember signing any contract at all.
They vaguely recall someone yelling at them to quit messing around and hold the pen properly so that they could sign a document on a clipboard. Alternatively, being yelled at by a bouncer or a hostess to sit up straight and smile.
It felt like watching a movie through my own eyes, almost an out-of-body experience, because in my mind, I'm screaming to myself that this is wrong, to leave, to fight my way out, but they have the bouncer at the door, the disorienting hallways. Like, I don't think I'm going to be able to make it out.
One plaintiff claims club reps approved transactions via text with credit card companies by using the Face ID function, holding the owner's iPhone in front of their face to unlock it. The complaint says Todd Borowski is the sole director, shareholder, and the president of Wisnowski Incorporated, which does business under Skin Cabaret and Bones Cabaret. In a court filing by the defendants last month, they deny all allegations. Borowski's lawyer released a statement to Fox 10 that reads in part, quote, "The cases are baseless. It's like going into a casino and asking for your money back after you choose to be there." Dennis Willenchik goes on to say that the plaintiffs were not drugged and the dancers were independent contractors, citing the signed documents and photos, saying, quote, "Their credit card companies also investigated and approved the transactions." Joe confirms his credit card company left him on the hook with the entire debt.
They ended up holding me accountable for those charges, and I'm still recovering from that.
Galarza says charges went beyond credit card limits for clients specifically with American Express accounts.
In each one of these cases, an American Express card was used, and in virtually every case, the credit limit was exceeded.
Bobby's Amex credit card limit was around $22,000, yet his charges totaled more than $180,000. A spokesperson with Amex responded, saying, quote, "American Express policy is to review all disputes, including considering evidence submitted by our card members and seeking merchant support for the disputed charges. We followed our standard policies and procedures in this case. Due to pending litigation, we do not have further comment at this time." According to Galarza, the average total charges for each plaintiff is $72,000, and with nearly 20 victims, the sum is more than $1.1 million.
Are you still traumatized?
Oh yeah, I've done as much as I can think to compartmentalize the situation and try to control what I can control and get over it. But every time I make progress in my life to move on, I get an email about it. I get a text about it. I remember that, I could be able to afford X, Y, or Z, or have savings built up and capitalize and have those options that I rightfully earned, but that all got taken away from me.
Scottsdale PD is aware, and a spokesperson confirms police are working with the Arizona Attorney General's office on cases involving Bones Cabaret, Skin Cabaret, and Dream Palace. The AG's office declined to comment. No trial date has been set at this time.
I think, to me, it's shocking how organized and sophisticated it all seems, right? Because all of these people seemingly don't know each other, and they're all reporting similar things. And then the credit card charges being racked up, they had access to their phones. It's just...
The stories are extremely similar. I mean, we found police reports dating back 3 to 4 years, and then you go to the Better Business Bureau and you see several reviews and complaints on these businesses, and all of these incidents are describing the same alleged scheme that we've been reading about, that people feel like they're out of sorts, incapacitated, and these credit card charges are enormous.
And nobody's been charged yet. There have been no criminal charges at all.
Active investigation.
Are the women who were involved in this, the dancers, are they long gone? Some of them still there? I mean, this is kind of the community that travels a little bit.
It's a good question of who is actually involved, but we know that it takes a number of people to be involved in this type of scheme that we're reading about, because as we read in these reports, there's a bouncer that keeps someone isolated in this VIP room, and there are the dancers or independent contractors that are working to get these contracts signed, allegedly, and a manager or some sort of staff member running the cards. Spend a few hours, they wake up to these incredible charges.
I do want to point out, too, you mentioned that this goes back a couple years, right? This isn't just this year. That's what's happening.
It's a few years, 3 to 4 years at least. We saw dating back to 2021. And MCSO, just to know, is involved as well, because Dream Palace is on a county island in Tempe. So they are assisting Scottsdale PD however they can. But it looks like Scottsdale PD is the lead on this case, and we'll be keeping track.
Okay, keep us up to date on it. Justin, I know you will.
A high school
teacher had sex with student while husband out of town. We almost got caught.
teacher from Washington State learns her punishment for having sex with a student. Is it just a slap on the wrist? Thanks for joining me for Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. A judge in Spokane County, Washington, sentenced McKenna Kindred to 2 years probation for having sex with one of her students. No jail time.
Within the history of manhood has a man ever got 2 years of probation for fucking a female student? They better say she put on the damn registry. I'm just 2 years of probation. Probation. She got time served.
Also has to register as a sex offender, but not for life. She'll have to register for
not for life. Oh man, I'm starting this all the way back over. They don't fuck with what the hell? Why can't women be sentenced like men?
A high school teacher from Washington State learns her punishment for having sex with a student. Is it just a slap on the wrist?
All the men in Spokane, Washington need to be voting that judge out.
Thanks for joining me for Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. A judge in Spokane County, Washington, sentenced McKenna Kindred to 2 years probation for having sex with one of her students. No jail time. Kindred also has to register as a sex offender, but not for life. She'll have to register for just 10 years. The 17-year-old boy and Kindred began messaging each other on Instagram, and some students at Central Valley High School discovered the messages and became suspicious back in December of 2022. Then Kindred reported she was being harassed by allegations that she was having an inappropriate relationship with a student. So school officials called the cops, and Kindred ended up being charged. Kindred was 24 when she had sex with that student at her home when her husband was out of town on a hunting trip. When she was sentenced, she apologized for the harm that she had done. Matt Murphy is a former prosecutor who prosecuted sex crimes for years. Matt, your first thoughts on
FB, would you say that if it was a male having sex with a female student, would you say the only crime was that she was would you say that? See, when men say shit like that, that kind of makes it seem like you're okay with sexual assault of a minor. Because women can molest boys and rape them as well, just like they say the men do when they have sex with students.
the sentence for McKenna Kindred? She is not going to serve a day in jail.
Well, each one of these cases has to be determined on its own merit.
She went to jail long enough to bond out. Yeah, FB, if you got a daughter, would you be saying your daughter was lucky to get the dick from her teacher? I'm just saying, would you be saying that? Yeah, she lucky she got the dick from him.
And its own equities. So this is a young woman who cheated on her husband, had this this abusive sexual relationship with this teenage boy. Apparently it began when he was 16, but may not have been actually consummated till he was 17. And, you know, the judges have wide latitude and a lot of discretion in the sentences they choose. Justice comes in all.
Why wouldn't they say she groomed him if she waited a year? That's what they would say about a man. They wouldn't say he's young and he cheated on his wife and he met her when she was 16 and he didn't consummate it until she was 17. And for it to be if she consummated it at 17, that still made it against the law. Otherwise, she would be in court. She wouldn't have probation. She wouldn't have to register on the sexual registry. So apparently in Spokane, Washington, the age of consent is 18. But they're not going to use the word groom at all with this woman.
Different shapes and sizes. So in this woman's case, you know, she's got to be a registered sex offender for 10 years. I'm sure her marriage won't survive it. Her career won't survive it. So there are consequences outside of a custodial sentence. That said, one of the things that you see a lot on cases like this, and this is a thing, you know, these young teachers that have sexual relationships with their students, you know, there's kind of the locker room, knock, where was she when I was a student thing. Right. And I've prosecuted these cases, and the thing that everybody forgets is that when you have an adult woman like this, in addition to the potential impact on the boys and their development, and it looks like this young man actually
What's going on,
school. There's also the risk of pregnancy, and that happens sometimes in these cases. We saw that with Mary Kay Letourneau, and that is a consequence as devastating to a male victim of something like this as anything that could befall virtually any other victim of violent crime or crime. I mean, if you think about it, if your liquor store gets robbed, you recover from that. If you're mugged in a hallway or an alley, you can recover from that. If as a sexual assault victim, as a teenage boy, you impregnate somebody who insists on taking that pregnancy to term and has that child, in I think every single state, the law basically says that boy, that sexual assault victim, is now financially responsible for being raped. That child. So this can be a devastating thing, impacting the lives of young male students, and that's something that you don't really hear too much about.
This boy was 16 when it started. According to everything we know, according to the allegations, which now are facts, she's admitted to it. So, they're proven allegations at this point.
She's convicted. Right.
She's convicted.
She's convicted.
Right.
From her presumption of innocence, she did it.
Correct.
So
yeah, she did it. She's a registered sex offender now. So my point, though, is we've seen recently, and we've covered quite a few of these here on Crime Fix, 12-year-old students being molested by teachers. The thing that's still the problem, though, it doesn't matter if he's 16. It doesn't matter if he's 17. He's still a kid. She's still the one in the position of authority. Now, say he was of legal age. Say he's 19 and she's 27, and there's still that age difference. You can think whatever you want, but still, she would. And I'll be frank, when you read some.
Dang it, I hit the wrong button. Sorry, y'all. Hold on. Freak.
A high school teacher.
Therapy in the world does not help them. And we saw this in the 1970s.
Say he was of legal age. Say he's 19 and she's 27, and there's still that age difference. You can think whatever you want, but still, she wouldn't have been in that position of authority over him. That's where there is this issue that comes in. So
if the teacher gets pregnant, or a woman in general, it just so happens that they're teachers because they're sleeping with the students. But if a younger guy had a baby with the older woman, he would still be on the hook, even though she raped him.
Using her position as a teacher,
imagine that,
to engage in this relationship. So, she's indeed a sex offender.
This is the world men have to grow up in.
But this saying you only have to register for 10 years, is that saying, well, you're only a little bit of a sex offender? Doesn't she have the risk of reoffending? She won't be a teacher ever again, but she still may go after younger kids, maybe 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds again.
Yeah, this is a movement that we've seen, especially in the Western states, California, Oregon, Washington, where it used to be sex offender registration was for life. And now we're seeing this push to end that. Okay, when it comes to sex offenders, just broadly, child molesters, rapists, I can tell you from personal experience in dealing with these cases over again as a prosecutor, sex offenders, especially sexual predators, do not get better. All the therapy in the world does not help them. And we saw this in the 1970s, where there's this idea that once they went to prison, if they quote unquote got the help that they needed, these guys were released. And what we learned is that they continue to do this. They might not get caught again. They will reoffend 100%. Now, this situation may be a little bit different because of the circumstances. This woman, I can't imagine her marriage was exactly great. Whether she is an actual sexual predator or not, or whether this was, a one-off is open for debate. But this idea that sex offenders can do less than lifetime registration is, I think it's folly by a lot of these legislatures in the Western states. In California, I can't stand it. It's like the idea that a man could molest a child and then not have lifetime 290 registration is what it's called, is absolutely insane. It is madness. So hopefully she doesn't reoffend. Hopefully regarding her situation, I think.
Why is it? Why? Wait, sir, lawyer, sir. Why is it madness that a man not get life and all of that, and you cool and you made excuses for why this woman only gets 2 years of probation? Talking about, well, she ain't gonna get to teach no more, and she marriage probably ain't gonna survive it, so there's consequences. But you just said it's crazy for a man. So women don't know the difference between right and wrong. The law don't apply to them. What the fuck? Men don't hire this guy. He don't have your best interest at hand.
23 when she met him. Maybe there's some. Maybe this is the only time she'll do it. I hope that's the case.
This nigga making all types of excuses for this woman, but he just said, let me skip this shit back. This nigga is a simp.
Registration is, I think it's folly by a lot of these legislatures in the Western states. In California, I can't stand it. It's like the idea that a man could molest a child and then not have lifetime, called, is absolutely insane. It is madness. Hope
that boy that this teacher had sex with was a child, sir. He's a child. You ain't even. She in Washington. You don't think it's madness that in Washington she only getting 2 years of probation and 10 years of being a sex offender instead of life? And you sitting here saying that they're gonna reoffend. Like there's no fixing it shit. You saying this? You've tried these cases, and you say you hope she don't reoffend, but you cool with the 10 years instead of saying, nah, she need to be on there for life. They might not get caught, but they reoffend. Let's hope that's not the case, because she's a woman.
Hopefully she doesn't reoffend. Hopefully, regarding her situation, I think she was 23 when she met him. Maybe there's some. Maybe this is the only time she'll do it. I hope that's the case. But that 10-year sex offender registration thing, something that's being applied to men and much younger children, and it is, I think, an abdication of responsibility.
Oh, he said much younger children. You don't have to care, G. You don't have to. But why'd you have to type it? If you don't care, why'd you type it? See, people that don't care, they scroll up. It's real simple. Just scroll up and not say anything. I done ran across a whole bunch of lives where I didn't care. Like it'd be people scratching off shit. It'd be Filipino women with their legs open and stuff. It'd be all types of wretched shit going on. You know what I've never typed in there? Why should I care? Just scroll on.
Responsibility these legislatures have to protect children from future sexual abuse by these people that have been caught already.
I'll tell you what, some days it feels like the world is absolutely full of predators, and they can look like the person next door. Heck, they can even live next door to you, or maybe they can even be teaching your children. You have to do whatever you can to keep yourself and especially your kids safe. Truthfinder.com can help you do just that.
Hell no.
Maybe you want to search a neighbor.
Oh, hell.
If you'd like to check out, they really do this because my mom for years, full disclosure, counseled sex offenders with substance abuse issues. And they really, I mean, she counseled people who did prison time and got out of prison. They really have to want to change. But sometimes there's just something so wrong up here that they can't. But they have to keep themselves away from temptation, and they have to really go through intensive therapy. I mean, there's a lot that goes into this, and I feel like there almost has to be a monitoring that goes into this, not just 2 years probation, but if you're going to register for 10 years, there almost has to be some monitoring with that.
How is the woman finding a problem with this more than the white man?
So that sex offender status is lifted. That's just my 2 cents. I want to go through some of these messages, Matt, that they discovered between this teacher, McKenna Kindred, and her students. She is saying stuff to him. Apparently, this was all going on Instagram. Things like, I want you in my room, using all kinds of sexual language. They had sex at her house while her husband was out of town. I mean, you're obviously taking steps to hide this relationship. She knew what she was doing was wrong. She was getting jealous, according to these messages, when he was either sitting by or talking to other girls in class. I mean, it's really, really weird and bizarre.
Right. She, I mean, the modern era, the prosecution of sex offenders like this, cell phones and computers are, you know, they're incredibly valuable as far as coming up with evidence to prove these cases, because they all have, you know, some sort of electronic trail, either for the specific relationship or what they're into. You know, once you get into a lot of computers, if somebody's into children sexually, you find that almost 10 out of 10 times if you've got if you get into their devices. So it's an incredibly useful tool for law enforcement. It also paints the entire picture of their entire relationship here. So, I mean, I think the way to interpret that in the positive is maybe she's just so dumb about leaving that electronic trail with the text messages and everything else that hopefully she's not sophisticated in this and she's not going to do it again. But yeah, it's incredibly damning. And because they had that, that's why in the modern era, you know, 15, 20 years ago, this woman would have denied it ever happened. Right. But now, because of text messages and that sort of thing, she couldn't, which is why we got a guilty plea and the family didn't have to go through.
Oh, she convicted.
The school also is likely
she's
to be
convicted, whatever the hell they charged her with. She just got 2 years of probation instead of doing jail time. And she got 10 years of being on the registry instead of life. Just 10 years.
liable in a civil context for this. This is going to cost the school district, almost certainly there will be a civil suit filed in this, I would imagine. And given the way the mother is talking, I would be surprised if that hasn't already been done. But this is an issue. It happens in every state, and some of these young teachers, and there's a pretty wide range of consequences. I mean, if you Google some of the other ones, I've even been on your show before. We talked about one. I think that happened in the state of Alabama, where the consequences are more severe than what happened here. So on social media, you know, if some young woman who's a teacher is contemplating doing this with one of her teachers, you know, maybe this disposition doesn't look so bad to her. I don't know. I don't know how much deterrent effect there is. What I can tell you, though, to pick up on your other point, you know, I prosecuted.
It's not a deterrent. They're like, well, I ain't gonna go to jail.
Rodney Alcala case, and he was a sex offender who kidnapped and attempted to murder an 8-year-old in 1968. And when he finally got caught several years later, he only did 34 months in state prison after getting quote unquote therapy. And when he was released, Rodney Alcala killed at least 13 women that we know of. But the lead investigator on that, if you do the math and look at the places he was, you know, he might have killed 100 people after that. So when it comes to the truly predatory sex offenders, there is no therapy that works. There's no drug that you can give them. As long as they drop breath, they are going to abuse people. And that's something that it seems like almost like we've forgotten. And unfortunately, it's a lesson that we are going to relearn as states gear more towards early release programs and therapy for sex offenders. It doesn't work. It does not work, especially not for the predatory ones, I can tell you. So hopefully this woman doesn't reoffend. 10 years, hopefully it's enough for her. You know, the judges, you know, I like to defer to the discretion of judicial officers when they assess something like this. The judge had all the facts and made the determination. I hope he was right, and we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, there were some pretty salacious, and salacious may not even be the right word, but graphic maybe is a better word, videos and things exchanged between the two. And one, the victim's mother discovered it, Matt. And the victim was holding his genitalia, and she responded with this video, receiving the video. McKenna Kindred did. I wish you were behind me doing this right now. I mean, this is some very, very graphic stuff. I mean, I get it. She's a sex offender. She's having sex with her student. But this is some, wow, pretty adult stuff. I get that he was 17, but he was still a kid. And we all know that boys especially don't mature as quickly as girls. You know, they're just not as fully developed up top in the prefrontal cortex and stuff like that. I mean, you probably know this from your days as a prosecutor. It's just,
boys develop more, we don't mature as quickly as girls. So I just think it's really disturbing. These women who are in these positions of trust, especially when they're supposed to be nurturing. I mean, maybe it's just a fallacy that women are nurturers. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that, one of the, I hate to use the word funny, but one of the funny things about this with a lot of these teachers is that this is a 17-year-old American male, right? And when she sends that video to him,
she started grooming him at 16, sir. Stop minimizing it.
There is no way that guy is not going to share it with at least one buddy, and that's why, the idea that they're going to actually be able to keep their mouth shut is pretty much zero. And yet these teachers, these women go out and they do this and they get caught over and over and over again. And in this case, the mom found it, but I'm sure he showed it to a friend or two. It's only a matter of time before they get caught. And that's something that, hopefully that throws some caution into them. Shout out to the nosy mom. Causes them a little reticence before they do this, because this is, they're going to get caught. If not the electronic media, the big mouth of the kid they're involved with. He's 17, but like I had a case once where there was a 14-year-old, and his older brother said it really messed him up. The boys often have to leave school because they're the subject of gossip and heckling from the kids and all kinds of stuff, potentially bullying. That's to a bunch of immature kids in high school. This is like red meat for the gossip. So this kid had to withdraw from school. That impacts their education. But I expect that I'm going to be back on your show again soon, talking about the next one that comes down the line. This is a really interesting thing. These women tend to be young. They tend to be married, in the cases that we see. And for whatever reason, they tend to be, quite attractive too. So for a 17-year-old boy, somebody like, McKenna Kindred, they're going to roll with the opportunity, I think, more times than not, which is a part of the predation, I think. So, locker room humor aside on it, it is sexual abuse.
You make a very interesting point. One of the not funny things about this, but also kind of funny, Matt, is the fact that McKenna Kindred thought she was going to outsmart everybody on this. And she reported that people were making these allegations that she was having an inappropriate relationship with a student. People were saying stuff online. And so she reported it to the administrators at the school. And I'm sure that was so that they would say, oh my goodness, I can't.
She snitched on herself, dumbass.
Believe this is happening to you. You're being victimized. But obviously it came back to bite her because they went to the cops and everything came out. So let's hope she's learned her lesson. Matt Murphy, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And that's it for this episode of Crime Fix.
All right. The next one is kind of follow-up to this one. Dozens of female teachers,
women hired to nurture and teach children, later accused of taking advantage of their positions and sexually assaulting the kids. What's driving them to molest kids that they should be protecting? Thanks for joining me for Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. Female teachers accused of using their jobs to target their students who are just kids for sex. It's happening a lot these days, and some of these cases involve students as young as 12. In Texas, Jaden Charles, a pregnant mother of 4, was arrested in the past week, accused of having sex with multiple students. Police telling local TV stations they have video of Charles at a hotel with a student. Another Texas case, Margaret Claire Burris was charged last month with having an improper relationship with a student after police said they found inappropriate text messages on her phone. In Florida, Lauren King, a paraprofessional, was also charged recently with having sex with a 12-year-old student. I can remember back in the 90s when Mary Kay Letourneau was arrested and charged with raping her 12-year-old student, Billy Falau. Letourneau served time in prison and even gave birth to 2 children fathered by Falau. They even later married. The case was shocking. People couldn't believe it. Now it seems like we're hearing about a female teacher being arrested every other week somewhere around the country for having sex with a student. With me to discuss what seems to be an epidemic of female teachers being arrested for sex crimes with students is Chris Hansen. He's an expert in this. He's the host of Takedown with Chris Hansen. He's also the co-founder of the True Blue Crime Network. Chris, I just can't get over the number of female teachers who've been arrested recently. We've covered at least 10 or 12 of them just in the last couple of months across the country. So what is going on as far as you can tell? Are we just not screening these people properly, or are we hiring people who...
Yeah, just act like it doesn't exist among women.
Are too young and too immature to handle these positions?
I would almost buy into the age argument and the maturity argument, Anjanette, except for the fact that we've seen cases of offenders involving crimes like this who are in their 70s on the most extreme side. This has happened so much in the last 18 months that we at True Blue have actually commissioned a documentary looking at the root cause of this, trying to find out. And I don't pretend to have the answer to that question. We are delving into it. But I can tell you, based upon all the hundreds of predator investigations that we've done and continue to do at True Blue, you see trends. And what causes the trend? The offense typically has its roots in fantasy, many times in porn. And so if you're seeing teacher-student fetish porn on one of the social media hubs or platforms providing this sort of material, you ultimately will see this play out in real life. And I think that may have some effect on what we're seeing now. There's some fantasy brewing out there in a certain section of our society that's being played out. And that's part of what I think we're seeing here now.
That's an interesting take from you, because I think that is a legitimate concern, the pornography aspect of this. It creates this fantasy, but also, I mean, this is illegal. I mean, this is not.
Well, it is illegal.
This is not.
It is illegal. And the other thing that psychiatrists will tell you, Anjanette, is that for some of these people, they're acting out an experience that either reflects a very exciting point in their life, or they're trying to catch up with something they missed out on. Predators who talk to me after they're arrested, well, and I don't know whether they're telling me the truth or not, but they will often tell me that they're preying on a girl who's 12, 13, 14, 15 because
about men, though. Talking about the women, Chris. We talking about the women.
Other kids are having sex and they weren't.
How many women?
I don't know if I buy that, but that's what they say. And the other thing psychiatrists and therapists will tell you is that in the case of a female teacher who's exploiting a young male student, it will represent a happy, pleasureful, pleasant time in their lives. And they want to recreate that experience at the cost of exploiting a child. And so I think it all plays together. You know, there's never a single point failure or single point cause in these situations. It's a combination of things that all come to a head. But absolutely, and above being anecdotal, I can tell you that we're seeing more of these cases than ever before. And I've been in this business for 42 years as a reporter and 20 years investigating child predators. Literally 20 years ago this month, we did the very first investigation. And, you know, I've come to learn a lot about these crimes. And so I think there's very definitely a link with porn and fetish porn involving teacher-student scenarios.
That is very interesting. And part of me, it almost sounds like there's an Arrested Development kind of thing going on here as well.
Well, I think that's part of it too. Yeah.
But you shouldn't be in these positions then. I mean, like,
well, exactly.
Come on,
and so the question is, you know, are we doing enough to screen people? But if you look at the case in the Midwest that we explored on True Blue a couple months ago, you had literally a woman in her 70s at a private Christian school who was, you know, sexually involved with at least one and maybe more students. Who suspects somebody of that? You know, it doesn't meet the criminal math of what we normally see. So, you know, obviously we need screening. Obviously, school administrators need to be vigilant about who they hire and how quickly they hire, the background checks of those they hire. But a lot of these cases are slipping through it, and we're seeing more than ever before.
They do seem to be slipping through, and I wonder, are we becoming more aware of it? And I think back to when I was in high school, of course. And when I was in high school, I mean, the teachers, we had a couple of younger teachers, right? All the teachers just seemed like older. They seemed like older than your parents, or at least your parents' age, at least. And it didn't ever seem like somebody, like, I mean, maybe I was just fortunate that we didn't have that going on in the places where I went to school. But it just didn't seem like we heard about it as much. I mean, is it because they're getting caught more these days as well? Because
I think I think that's part of it. I mean,
phones, social
again,
media.
I think it's cell phones. I think it's social media that fuels this from all standpoints. The internet, obviously, but I also think there's more awareness. So there's more opportunity for somebody to report it. There's more. I hope that all these stories we do on predators embolden survivors and victims to come forward and report this. So I think there's more of that. I think, parents do review their children's social media, and a lot of these cases are uncovered because parents see something on a cell phone or a tablet, and you can also see odd behavior. If the teacher is picking up your student, from the house.
About the uptick in teachers, women teachers getting arrested for sleeping with male students, and pretty much discussing the double standard as we listen to these people pontificate. Nothing too strenuous.
And they're not going on a field trip, or at least not the kind of field trip you want them to go on. It raises suspicion. But all predator teachers included, prey on those who are vulnerable. So they will try to find kids who fit the scenario of somebody who may not tell or may be vulnerable for a number of different reasons. And that's what predators do. So that's why some of these cases go on for months, sometimes many months before they're reported and uncovered and investigated. But, at least now, because of all the awareness and all the investigations that, we've done and so many different law enforcement agencies across the country have done, the justice system takes this seriously. It's not just swept under the rug. These cases are prosecuted. District attorneys across the country take it very seriously.
Chris, we just heard a judge give a woman in Spokane, Washington, 2 years of probation and 10 years of being on the registry. That's not taking it serious.
Law enforcement takes it very seriously. And some of and they're facing, very, very strict enforcement here.
What do schools need to do to screen better for this? I mean, do you have any idea? I mean, do we need a more stringent interview process? Do we need like a psychological evaluation of these teachers before they're hired and these paraprofessionals?
Well, I think each state has a responsibility, and the federal government has a responsibility to set a baseline of a background check. So obviously there's a criminal background check. There should be some sort of interview that is conducted by a school who's practiced in psychology and perhaps psychiatry to say, okay, does this person seem fit? There's no 100% guarantee on any of this. You know that. You've been in this business too long to know that you can't, have 100% dome of safety. Yeah, people slip through, and that's unfortunate, but that's part of, reality. But we can do the best we can to prevent that from happening, and it doesn't appear in some of these cases that's been done. Sadly, you can't always assume that everybody's a good person. I think sometimes you have to assume that everybody has, an element of badness to them or evil to them, and that's unfortunate. But when it comes to teachers and the safety of our students and our children, I think we need to take that extra step.
And talk to your kids every day. I mean,
I think, and look, this is right. This is my mantra. Because all this is going on, because the police can't be everywhere, the feds can't be everywhere, school administrators can't be everywhere, your best defense on all of this is the relationship that you have with your children, especially having access to the internet. The first conversation is, there are adults on the internet who like to trick children. they will pretend to be children in order to trick you. If you don't know them in real life, you don't know them as friends on the internet. That's how it starts. And as kids mature and they have greater access to the internet, you need to ratchet up that conversation. But you also need to, talk about adults in their lives. And, we want to look up to our teachers and our principals and our coaches. But, if something happens, come to me. It's the same with sextortion. So many of these kids are afraid to tell their parents they made a mistake and sent a sexually explicit picture thinking it was a girl and it was actually an extortionist from half a world away. And they're committing suicide over this as opposed to saying, I messed up. And no parent would not understand that. And so they're, especially when it comes to boys, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, their brains aren't fully formed yet. They don't get all that's happening to them. And
They're impulsive.
we want to protect our girls, but we have to protect our young men too.
Thank you, Chris.
And they have to know that they can come to you if there's a problem. And that is still, the best defense of your family, of your children, is to have that conversation. And it's not easy to have always, but you need to have it.
Yeah, every night I ask my son, how was school? What happened at school? Just I don't force him, but I do. And we have these conversations ever so often about how not everybody is a good person. So I just think back to these things like
slough it off on me and my investigations, so you gotta watch this.
I haven't introduced my son yet to Chris Hansen.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's not age appropriate yet, but there's always a reason to raise alarm without you being overprotective or seeming overprotective. You can always blame it on somebody else that I saw this and I just want to make sure. I know it sounds silly and extreme, but I want to make sure this isn't happening at your school. And you just know that you can tell me if something weird or like this happens. Again, blame it on Hansen. That's fine. I'm comfortable with
that. We will blame it on Hansen. Chris Hansen, thank you so much.
Okay, I don't know if y'all have ever heard of this woman, but I haven't. Ruby Franke, and it said, "What's next for YouTube family? Everything you missed." Authorities released a massive evidence dump on Ruby Franke and Joel Hildebrandt in connection to their child abuse case. This leaves the question: what's next for the YouTube mom's family? I don't know who she is, but let's see what they did. She's a YouTube mom, and I'm gonna be nosy and probably go see what they channel about after this, thing. It's the last story for the night. It's 50 minutes long. I don't know how long I've been on. Yeah, it's 50 minutes long. It's the last story for the night.
What's your name? How'd you do?
The neighbor saw the condition RF was in, immediately called for the police, and when they got to Jody's home, she answered the door and seemed shocked to see a contingent of officers.
Open the door! Jody? I need you to step out.
I have my attorney.
That's great. Step out of the house.
No, I'm not gonna step out of
Step
the
out of
house.
the house. Step out of the house.
Whoa.
We're just gonna step in the house.
Wait a minute, how do you come in my house?
Right there.
Inside the house, officers found EF, Ruby's youngest child, in what appears to be a closet, possibly mistaking her for a boy due to her condition.
You come on,
In a closet.
I'm a police officer.
Hey, you okay? Is this just you in here? I'm Sergeant Tobler. What's your name? I just have one.
Officers arrest both Ruby and Jody, taking them down to the police station. Now, during all of this, Kevin Franke, Ruby's husband, is nowhere to be seen. But he later shows up on the day of the arrest at the police department in Ivans. And this is what we're going to get into, what he says to police. So police record their first interaction with him on video.
So, I'm going to read the Miranda rights before we start. We're just going to kind of ask you a few questions about your involvement. Okay? So, first, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be held against you in court of law. Okay? You have the right to an attorney or to have him or her present while questioning. If you cannot afford to hire one will be hired to represent you. If you decide to answer questions, you can stop at any time. Okay? Do you understand your rights?
I do.
Okay. Do you wish to speak to me now?
Well, I want to pick up my kids.
How about this? We're gonna ask you some questions, and if you don't want to answer them, you just say, "Hey, man, I'm not gonna answer that."
Sure.
And you just say, "Hey, I'm not gonna talk. That's not beneficial to you," and then we're done. There's no way anyone will learn.
Sure.
You understand that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
What's a good address for you?
I'm not comfortable giving my address.
Okay. But you do live in Springville?
I do.
What Kevin tells the officers about his relationship with his family over the last year seems to shock them.
So are they all living with you, or?
No, I haven't seen them for over a year.
Any of them?
No, none of them.
For a year?
Over a year.
Okay.
I've been in a separation.
From you?
From my wife and family.
What's your wife's name?
Ruby.
Ruby. When's the last time you saw Ruby?
The last time I saw her was the 18th of this month. We met to, she requested me to sign over vehicles, or the titles to the vehicles. The vehicle that she drives were all in my name.
When's the last time you physically saw?
The day that I moved out, July 24th, 2022.
24th of 2022.
Or July 25th, July 25th.
So it's my understanding that at least home here in Kayenta and Ivans, have you been to that home?
No.
What the man is saying is she kept his kids away from him. That's what he's saying while they were going through their separation / divorce.
You've not been to that home?
No, I don't know. I don't know what's anything that's been going on.
Like, this is good, man. Like, I would love to be able to help you out with this, and like, I'm seeing the light of the home because I'm unaware of your involvement in what's really going on. So for you to say that you're unaware of the status of your kids kind of makes, I know that sounds kind of crummy to you, but it sounds kind of good to me. Like, who lives in that home with your, is it ex-wife? Is it currently a separated wife? Like, who lives in that home with your children?
To be honest, I don't know. I know that she's there with 4 of the children, our 2 older children that moved out.
Now, we kind of knew about this when we interviewed Kevin's attorney, Randy Kester, back in the day, because I asked him straight up, like a lot of people were asking, where was Kevin? How did he not know about any of this? And as Randy Kester said, as Kevin just said, Kevin stayed away because he thought it was best for his family. Now, the investigators in this interview want to know how Kevin knew what was going on with the kid.
Nope, he thought it was best for his family. He wasn't kept away at all. My bad, Ruby.
That day,
I received a message that I needed to come pick up my kids from the police department in Highlands.
And who was that message from?
I prefer not to say right now.
It would just help us along.
I'll try to figure out who reached out to you because it makes sense that that would happen. I'm just not aware of anyone who did that from our department.
Right. And I'm not comfortable saying right now who reached out to me.
So again, we learned during our interview on Sidebar with Kevin's attorney, Randy Kester, that it was actually Ruby who called her husband to say there was an emergency and to come get the kids. Kevin continued to insist that up until that point, he had no reason to suspect that anything was amiss.
And then when all the kids left, Ruby took all of them?
Yeah, she stayed in the house.
And did you ever try to reach out to the kids, drop by the home, or was there?
I honored the separation.
So what was your separation? Did you have a no contact order in place?
No, this was between my wife.
So what did Ruby ask of you when you separated?
Did she ask of me?
Did she ask you not to contact the kids?
Ruby invited wanted me to leave the home while I thought about the choices that I had made in my life and the way that I treated her. And so I left.
And how long had you and Ruby been married before?
He felt sorry for how he did.
2000.
So about 22 years?
When we separated, we were going on 22 years.
And during your marriage, how was disciplining your kids? How would you discipline your kids?
Yeah, I'm not going to answer that question.
Okay, that's fine.
Have you been since separated or since they lived here in the city of Ivans? Have you communicated with your wife regarding like discipline with your kids or their care or their physical well-being? So is she doing this on her own, just telling you how your kids are?
She's not telling me anything.
I want you to keep that in mind, what he is saying. The idea of I was doing things that were wrong and I needed to stay away. But investigators want to know more about Jody Hildebrandt and her connection to the Franke family.
Who's this female Jody that your wife? Do you know anything about Jody?
She is a therapist and a life coach. She's.
Do you respect her?
Do I respect her? Yeah, I think she's a very honest, truthful person. Yes.
Okay. You place value on Jody?
I don't know what that means.
Like, do you value what she says and how she treats your wife a client of hers? Is your wife a partner of hers? Is your wife a roommate with her? If your kids are living in her house, is what I'm trying to say.
I'm not aware of that, but I know that they've been in business for the last year filming.
Who's they?
Ruby and Jody. They film podcasts. And so every week a podcast goes up and I listen to it.
What's the name of it?
Connections with an X.
Like CONNEXIONS.
Yeah.
And then, like, do you support them in that role and doing that and having?
Just listen to it every week.
Yeah, like, do you support them and think that what they're doing is a good thing, or?
I support their business efforts. I think it's a good thing.
Are you involved with their business efforts, or? Are you aware of the physical condition of your children?
No, I've chosen to trust my wife with the children. That was part of the agreement of our separation.
Is that you allow her to physically provide for the needs of the child? You're just removed from that? I mean, you pay support? I know this is personal questions, but.
Yes, my job is to financially provide for them.
I was trying to figure out like how much of a role do you play in caretaking specifically of those two kids?
I pay the bills.
Okay.
My job, I provide the money, goes into a shared bank account.
What's
Kevin
going on
tells the
over
officers that he agreed to leave the home to.
It also sounded like he may have had a drug problem, which he said he was doing some bad things and he needed to stay away. It sounded like he was going, like he may have had a drug problem or an alcohol problem. But as he told the officers, I provided for her. That's why the last time he saw her is because she wanted the titles turned over. Well, all the cars she was driving were in his name, and he was gonna turn the title over. What he did, that's why he met her. This guy is a good man. Got a couple demons that we don't know about, but overall, even fighting his demons, he did what he felt was best for his family and got himself together. Now he's at the point when his wife is in this fucked up situation, he's able to get his child.
Work on his own problems, including an apparent addiction to pornography. In this interview, he appears to say,
"Oh boy, I thought you had a real addiction. You nigga, you Tiger Woods." You was a cheater. That point addiction. If you a cheater, just say that.
It's Ruby, not Jody, who asked for the separation.
Jody and Ruby have a close relationship. And Jody saw the need for me to get help. And frankly, I agree. This space has been exactly what I need to face my own addictions and receive the support and help that I've needed. So this space has been very, very good for me.
So when you stated that you and Ruby had this no contact that you guys just verbally agreed upon, was that an idea given by Jody that she recommended you guys have that space and not contact one another?
I'm not aware of that. The invitation for me to leave and take space was from my wife.
And then finally, more than 20 minutes into this interview, police revealed to Kevin some of the details of what's going on.
Well, you're the custodial parent of this child. I don't see why we can't explain to you why we're involved. So I don't recall the exact time, but sometime before 11 o'clock today, we received a phone call from 911 on our dispatch that a 12 to 13-year-old boy was knocking on doors in a neighborhood asking for food and water. He was severely emaciated. That he had skinny, strong, malnutrition, not enough food, not enough water to sustain life.
Damn.
So he had duct tape on his extremities, on his hands, on his ankles, and those were covering rope burns that were used to tie him down. Take a second and think about what I just said. That's the condition of your son.
Why are you
Given that
being
information,
police
your
officer?
son was taken to the hospital. A warrant has been applied and granted by the Department of Child and Family Services to remove both from your wife's care. So no one right now is going to have access to these two children based on their physical condition. Do you understand that?
I understand.
Would you condone that behavior?
Would I condone that?
Why are you being a dick?
That's my job. My job is to find out who are
He just explained to you what the fuck is going on.
No. I don't know the details or I don't know but as you described that sounds
horrible, disgusting. No human being should be treated like that.
Right.
That's my thoughts. But again, we gotta be different on that.
You're an ass. I don't like this officer. I'm treating everybody like a suspect.
We'll give you a card. You go out the front door, you might be a card.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the mom or the girlfriend who's clearly a bulldog.
I'll find it.
Right, Marlon.
I have a crash on the right side, so shorts.
Okay. All right. Step up, please. Thank you. Go and face that officer. Put your hands on top of your head, please. Analyze your fingers. Look to your left. Thank you. Just one. Hit you in the head. That's not the cut. Go down. Trace, you want to let you know what your criminal charges for, so you're under arrest? It's going to be 2 count, second-degree felony of child abuse or neglect. Okay. You understand that or no? Are you okay?
I'm wondering if there's like a medical clearance that needs to, like, do you need medical attention before you go to the jail? Okay.
So now I'm going to make February drug custody basically. Okay, give me questions for me. No questions? Okay, you can open.
Now, we also received a lot of photos from Utah authorities in this document dump. Many of them show the inside and outside of Jody Hildebrand's home in Ivins. The house itself is huge with staircases, corridors, doors, every direction. The police looked at as they searched the home. We never really got a good grasp of what this house was like until now. Some of the photographs show evidence that investigators were compiling against the women, including pictures of the duct tape, rope, gauze, the cayenne pepper and honey solution that they used to treat wounds. Other pictures showed pantries full of food that the children were clearly not allowed to eat. And still, there were these other photos that showed the actual wounds to both RF and EF. And I will tell you, they are just too graphic to show. It's too much. And as we've mentioned, RF still had duct tape on his ankles and wrists when he was taken to the hospital with what appeared to be infected wounds underneath. And I'll say this, these wounds, seeing them, worse than I could have imagined. Now, Ruby Franke's journal entries, that's what we're going to get into next. This was one of the largest documents released in this massive information dump. It is a 60-page journal, apparently written by Ruby Franke. Not only does it give a timeline of events, but it records the brutal treatment of these two children. Some parts of the journal have been completely blacked out by officials. They've been redacted, but what remains, it really leaves nothing to the imagination. At the beginning of the journal, on a page titled Timeline, President on May 1st, 2023, then Ruby, along with her 4 minor-age children, went down to Jody's house to do, quote, spring cleaning. First mention of punishments for RF are on June 30th, 2023, when the journal states, quote, he refuses to do wall sits and he's done. The next day, it's noted that RF has to sleep outside. On July 14th, we have our first mention of EF. It states E refuses to work, screams, has hair shaved off. It also states that the next day, RF ran away in the middle of the night, and Ruby found him a couple hours later. So clearly not his first escape attempt. So then there are several redacted pages, and then the journal seems to jump back in time to a little bit to July 9th and July 10th. On the 10th, the journal states, quote, it's R's birthday, and he doesn't even know what month it is. E and R have been in so much deviant behavior, they won't control their bodily functions. They are both furious. Their selfish, sinful lifestyle is being intervened upon. I told R.
She one of them religious zealot bums. But she wrote this shit in a journal.
Emulates a snake. He slithers and sneaks around looking for opportunities when no one is watching, and then he scurries. If he wants to emulate the Savior, he needs to be 100% obedient with exactness, no wavering, no hiding. No wonder that the prosecutors said that this was also a form of emotional abuse as well. Really putting the blame on these young children. What do you think they're thinking? Then a few pages later, Ruby writes, quote, E is better behaved with Jody. She likes to think she can still manipulate me. I gave her a pixie haircut. All her long hair is gone. No more distracting with hair. R told me he would rather have a glass of water than me as his mother. And we know that both children were being denied food and water. Ruby even writes that RF was caught stealing water from the garden hose. Stealing? Ruby also writes, quote, E told me she figures they had been here 8 weeks. I asked E if she felt like she had made progress over the 8 weeks. Yes. I told her she was delusional. She made no progress. She continues to lie and manipulate. Evidence of no change. By the way, we're talking about a 9, 10-year-old at this time. 14th, Ruby writes, quote, E woke up. I reminded her that if she whined, cried, or squinted her eyes at me or soured her face, I would be buzzing her hair. If she was going to act sick, she can look sick. She agreed with a smile. I told her because she didn't listen the night before, she would do 2 sets of boxes and stairs with a 5-minute break. She did the first set easily and agreeably. After 5 minutes of rest, she began whimpering. When she got to the bottom of the stairs, she slipped and dropped the box. I put her in the dog wash and shaved her head, then back to the boxes. This is disgusting. And we also know that Ruby and Jody forced the children to stand outside in the hot sun in the Utah summer where it can get up to 120 degrees. In a journal entry, Ruby writes, quote, when E was outside today and it was hot, she acted like she was dying. So pitiful. I told her the heat in hell is much hotter than God is going to burn the wicked, so either get used to it or start changing. The journal also describes what happened when RF ran away in July. He had been made to sleep outside of a patio near Ruby's bedroom. She woke up in the middle of the night and he was gone. She and Jody both went out in the cars to look for him, and she writes, quote, then I see R walking on the left side of the road. I call Jody to let her know. I turn the car around and stop. I get out of the car. R is shocked to see me. Get in the car. Are you shocked to see me? R nods his head and gets in. Me and R in the front. 2:45, I woke up. 3, we leave in cars. 3:14 a.m., I called Jody with R. The sun started lighting the roads just an hour and a half later. The devil wants me in prison. My children dead. I meet Jody back home. Ruby continually talks about her children being evil, possessed by demons, and unwilling to repent. She writes about locking them in closets, poking them with a cactus, making them do physical exercise for hours. She also writes that Jody has been actively looking for land to buy in Arizona where they could really dig into fixing the kids. Can you imagine if that happened? Would these kids even be alive? This also, I will tell you from a legal point of view, fills in a lot of those details that we read about in their respective plea agreement documents, the specific details of abuse. And I imagine these entries are what proved what happened to these kids. And it shows how tough it would have been for them to defend themselves at a criminal trial when you have these kind of journal entries. As if the physical injuries and the accounts of the kids weren't enough. Just read this stuff. But now we move on to another piece of this document release. And that is when we have to talk about the Jailhouse phone calls. These calls are almost always recorded, and inmates and defendants, people on the other side of the line, they know this, and yet they say things. But we knew about these calls. Remember when Eric Clark, the Washington County attorney during Jody's sentencing, alluded to these recorded calls as evidence that Hildebrandt never has showed remorse for what she did? So in these calls, which are labeled October 17th and October 18th, 2023, you hear Jody seemingly defending her actions, and there seems to be a religious justification or rationale.
It feels like I was being set up to end up here. I know that sounds bizarro. I mean, I should be here. I haven't done anything wrong. And I don't know if I'm going to be like some kind of example, but when I get out of here, I have a story to tell, and I'm going to try to do everything I can to protect the children, because that's what's happening. Is that kids are being just horribly abused. I never hear Dennis. Nobody wants the truth. Nobody wants the truth. Nobody wants the truth, because these kids, I told Doug, I woke up, the spirit told, it's all the devil. I mean, you've seen him. I mean, I've known you, for 5 years? You've watched him come at me. And you're exactly right.
I told y'all she was one of them religious nuts. No offense.
Because he knows I know what he's doing. And he uses these kids. And he uses all of us as the adults, the parents that don't hold the kids accountable. So now it's abusive to make a kid sleep on the floor. It's abusive, or it's abusive to, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You can't even raise your kids anymore. He doesn't seem really animated. He seems like, the pictures are going to destroy you. And I'm like, we didn't do that. We didn't do that. Those pictures we did not do. He did that to himself, yes. Did we put that on him and then he rubbed around and cut himself? Yes. But we didn't do that.
Wow.
They didn't take.
I want you to keep in mind that the idea of the devil and the evil spirit, keep that in mind. But the idea that either she is not taking responsibility for the injuries of the children or that it's not really abuse, this is why it wouldn't be so surprising if the Board of Pardons and Paroles may not be so quick to release. Those phone calls weren't just from Jody Hildebrandt. No. We also heard from Ruby Franke. And there is a bit of a progression here, because listen to what she says when she's first arrested, specifically it seems, about the kids' injuries. And this appears to be calls that she had with Kevin, Franke, her husband, the day after she was arrested. They're labeled August 31st, 2023.
This is a witness. It's definitely been after me for years.
They're going to be in the hospital for 3 days.
So weird.
Did she say the devil's been after her for years?
I'm trying to exaggerate this.
So they didn't show me any pictures or anything with the way they described it. It was very serious.
So the way that I hear that is she is basically saying the kids' injuries are overblown. Which, by the way, if you recall during her sentencing, didn't she say something to the effect of the minute the officers put the cuffs on her, she had been set free, she knew that she did wrong, something to that effect? That doesn't seem to be consistent because it seems like she was still defensive and justifying what she did in the immediate aftermath of her arrest. And by the way, remember, as I said before, when she's arrested by law enforcement, she's not that cooperative. She's not even talking to them. By the way, that reference to a witch hunt, that the devil had been out for her for years, could possibly be referring to the fact that the Frankes had faced controversy for some time over their videos, the allegations of child abuse. But again, in the first few days of this arrest, you hear Ruby defending not only herself, but Jody. And the man on the call with her, Kevin Franke, or it seems to be Kevin Franke, seems to be supporting her. There have been so many developments, and I want to talk specifically about one person we haven't focused on enough, Pam Bottcher. For that, I want to bring in one of our favorites, always makes me smile. No, everybody loves him here. KUTV2 News' reporter, anchor, Brian Schnee. Brian, good to see you. You're rocking an amazing jacket from the station. They don't even give me anything here from Law and Crime. I need a rain jacket. What am I doing wrong? But good to see you. First time we've spoken since the evidence has dropped. Let me just get your initial reaction to that.
Jesse, always great to talk to you. And we'll get you one of these jackets too, especially if we keep doing this. But, you know, I had the opportunity to comb through a lot of that evidence as you probably have and the folks at Law and Crime. And there's just so much in there. And there's so many avenues to this case that are beyond the surface level. And that is where so much of the coverage has been, is really at the surface, because we didn't have access to these videos, these pictures, which are horrific, and then the documents. And I think the Journal is, of course, the most telling about the admission of guilt, the admission of abuse in writing. Detectives had this early on after they served the second search warrant. That is where they were able to gather the Journal and other critical things. And that ultimately was the tall tale of, hey, we've got enough here to get these two women charged on second-degree felony child abuse charges here in the state of Utah, because it was all written down. And as damning as the body camera video is, and the photos and the jail calls, the Journal is where Ruby writes everything she did to these children over that 6-month span. So the officers had plenty to work with and ultimately share with the prosecution to move forward.
Not surprised they pled guilty after all this evidence. It would have been very, very tough to defend. All right, so the reason I wanted to talk to you specifically today was about someone we haven't talked a lot about, Pam Bottcher. Now, first I want to say that she has never been accused of any crime connected to this case. She's never been charged. Her closeness, I should say, with both Ruby and Jody has made people somewhat suspicious of her. Now, Bottcher was involved in the connections business with Ruby and Jody. There's this life coaching therapy business. Bottcher listed on the website as president of Connections, while Ruby was listed as a mental fitness trainer. And on the day that Jody and Ruby were arrested in Ivins, Utah, August 30th, 2023, the middle children were with Pam Bottcher and her husband more than 4 hours away in American Fork, Utah. We are going to get to that in a second. But before we even get to that, I want to actually start with when Pam's name was mentioned in these newly released materials. Now, you mentioned something to me about the journal entries. What did we learn from Ruby's journal entries with respect to Pam Bottcher?
Well, Pam Bottcher is not in there a lot, Jesse, but she is mentioned by name in the Journal, specifically on July 15th, 2023. Before she mentions Pam's name, Ruby mentions going to bed after midnight with E sleeping on the floor next to the bed and R on the patio outside of the sliding window, sleeping outside, Jesse. First step, right? You read just one line
And
of this
on the
journal,
floor.
and you're like, well,
Outside
there's
and
part of
on
the
the floor.
abuse,
Both
mental or
kids
physical.
grown.
The next line mentions Pam on that date. And it does say what we already knew about Pam. Pam was taking care of the two daughters, in essence of being kind of a liaison between mom and the two daughters as they lived out of that Springville home with mom not around a whole lot. And the mention there is Ruby wondering if Pam was able to take one of her children to take her ACT test. And it was on that day that they first mentioned Pam Botcher. Now, I believe Pam was also one of the people that called Ruby in jail. And the reason why I believe that, because it's not written out in those jail calls, at least from where I found it. There's so much evidence, I could have missed it. But
Pam didn't call into the jail.
When I was speaking with one of the detectives earlier this week, she mentioned screening a call between Pam and Ruby in jail. So there is a connection there. Remember back when we got that American Fork body camera video from Pam's home? And Pam, in a way, said, I'm not that close to Ruby, but her children were there. We did know from talking to Jesse Hildebrandt a long time ago. They told me Pam was always around Jody's home. That was back when Jesse was living with Jody, tried to leave, endured her own abuse, shared that abuse with us, myself at KUTV2 News and also Law and Crime, and really had that story told. So Pam is involved, but Pam was never charged.
The abuse that Ruby Franke's two youngest children endured started to come to light in August of 2023 when Ruby's youngest son, identified as RF, managed to escape from Jody's home in Ivins, Utah, and run to a neighbor asking for him to call police.
Yes. Hi, I was just wondering if you could do 2 favors.
Bread and water, call the police.
What are they? Taking me to the nearest police station. Well, actually, just one's fine. What's going on, son? Have a seat there. It's personal business. Have a seat.
Personal business. Who's well spoken?
How'd you do it?
New video files released by Utah officials shows us what RF looked like when he got to that home. Emaciated with duct tape on his wrists and ankles. It is a horrifying sight. And then EF, his younger sister, 9 years old, was found in a similar condition inside of a closet-like room in the house. That launched a huge investigation into Ruby Franke and Jody Hildebrandt. They were ultimately arrested, charged, pled guilty, and sentenced to consecutive terms of aggravated child abuse. For that, I want to bring in Ben Shu, famed defense attorney who represented Johnny Depp during his massive defamation trial. He's a friend of the network, friend of the show, friend of mine. I feel good saying it. Ben Shu, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Hey, Jesse, great to see you again.
Great to see you. Let me just start off. We just watched that video of Ruby Franke's youngest son asking for help. And thank goodness he did, because the big question is, if he didn't, would he or his sister even be alive? What was your reaction to seeing that?
Well, Jesse, I am the father of 2 boys, one who just celebrated his 12th birthday, and I became emotional watching that. Children that age are really vulnerable, as you know, and it was just pathetic and heart-wrenching to see.
Yeah. And, we know what first responders encountered when they raced to that home. Let's take a look.
How did you get the ropes on you? Who did them? You're not in trouble with me, okay? We're just trying to figure out. Right now is you. Okay. Who put the ropes on you? What's to help you out?
Well, why y'all play the motherfucker? He's gonna beep everything out.
Explaining what happened.
I agree with you, Jesse. There's no defense of that. If you look at him, he's so emaciated, he's wasted away to nothing. And how anybody could torture a little boy like that, or a little girl, because the girl was also treated horrifically, it's beyond comprehension.
Let's move on. I want to get your reaction to this next part, which I thought was fascinating. When officers knocked on the door, the home of Jodi Hildebrand, she answered, apparently already on the phone with her attorney.
Police officers, open up!
His son ran away.
Jodi? I need you to step out.
I have my attorney.
That's great. Step out of the house.
No, I'm not gonna step out of
Step
the
out of the
house.
house. Step out of the house.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
We're just gonna
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
There we go.
Wait a minute, how do you come in my house?
Right there.
You can walk into my house.
Have a seat right there.
Do you have a search warrant?
Have a seat right
Do you
there.
have a search
Have
warrant?
a seat right there. I'll explain everything after. Have a seat right there.
Do you have a search warrant, sir?
Control public sum keyhole there. We're searching the house.
I can tell you what's in the house.
Okay. Just have a seat right there for me.
Do you have a
It's a
search
nice
warrant?
We'll
house too
explain
in
it after
Utah.
this.
The fuck Jody
You
do
can't just
for a
come into my
living?
house without a search warrant.
We'll explain everything after this now.
YouTube.
We will get more to that in a little bit, but your initial reaction to seeing her being taken out of that house so that they ultimately do find that 9-year-old girl in there.
Again, extraordinary. And as you noted, she had the presence of mind or consciousness of guilt to know to call her attorney, and but to have the temerity to call the police, to call their conduct into question, which
I don't know how it happened because they some religious zealots, but it didn't go unnoticed because they were saying that people on YouTube, because they're YouTubers, and people on YouTube were alleging, I guess, from what they seen or heard, that it may have been going on, but it didn't lead to anything. The son happened to just run out the house one day and knock on the neighbor's door and ask for help. I'm like, call the police and give me some bread and water.
she had a tortured girl inside her house is nothing short of extraordinary.
She may not think she did anything wrong, which we'll get into in a little bit, but let's focus on Ruby Franke. We will get to Jodi Hildebrand in a minute. So this is the mother of those two children, found to be basically starving. And from the time the police detained her at Jodi's home, she didn't say a word to officers. She was very silent. She was held in a small living room or living area with an officer monitoring her. And after more than an hour, a female investigator comes in to pat her down and put her in handcuffs. Let's take a look.
All right, well, it feels good in here. So, hey, Rick asked me this time, so they don't really anything. I'm gonna be doing this time. Okay, so I'm gonna be pop up.
You want to put them on our vehicle?
Yeah, you know what? Okay, just place your hand on your back for me. Perfect. And then, right now,
You know, not to speak without an attorney.
I can put a finger in each of these, okay? And I'm just gonna double up this so they don't tighten up on you on the way out there.
Double lock.
Where's your car?
It's out there.
Yeah.
Thought about it, command.
You don't have anything on you that I should know about, correct? Any weapons, anything that we're gonna find. Before you put you in a police vehicle, we need to search your person to make sure you don't have anything on you. Is there anything you have on you? Okay, I'm gonna search you before we put you in his car. That's just protocol, so I'm just gonna have you step right over here and then just widen your legs, widen your stance. Yep, perfect. Are you wearing your bra? Okay, I'm just gonna go like this through and make sure you don't have anything.
So then later on, Ruby revealed in a jail phone call that she deliberately didn't say anything to the officers. Seemed like that was the advice of her counsel or something that she thought from the advice of her counsel. And once they're at the station, the officer monitoring Ruby tells the investigator that they might have trouble getting any information out of her. Ben, you're a defense attorney. A lot of the time, that's the advice. Don't say anything until you have a lawyer. She really took it to heart. Didn't even say like, no, I don't.
She watched First 48. I ain't even mad at her for not saying anything without an attorney. That's what you're supposed to do. Innocent or guilty.
Have a broad, just shook her head, very stoic. What'd you make of it?
Yeah, I was struck by the contrast you noted between her and Hildebrand, that she was much more passive when you really would have thought the opposite. This is the mother of these 2 children, of the 6 children, and she acted, completely without any affect or emotion. You would have thought the opposite.
Would that have hurt her at trial? I mean, because on one hand, you could say, look, she didn't want to say anything. She's waiting for attorney. But if that video like that played at her trial, would the jury look and say, she seems really cold, really defiant, almost annoyed at officers? I will get into it a little bit, but do you think that would have hurt her?
I do, Jesse. I think that would have been very negative for her at trial, and that, as you suggested, that may have played into her ultimate decision to plead to the 4 counts.
So are they all living with you, or?
No, I haven't seen them for over a year.
Any of them?
No, none of them.
For a year?
Over a year.
Okay.
I've been in a separation
From you?
From my wife and family. I don't know what's anything that's been going on.
Like, this is good, man. Like, I would love to be able to help you out with this, and like, I'm seeing the light of the people, because I'm unaware of your involvement in what's really going on. So for you to say that you're unaware of the status of your kids kind of makes, I know that sounds kind of crummy to you, but it sounds kind of good to me. Have you communicated with your wife regarding like discipline with your kids, or their care, or
Let me go back to that.
We kind of knew this already, right? From the statements of his attorney, Randy Kester, but it is very different hearing from Kevin Franke himself.
It is very different. This is the first time we have heard from him. We've only spoken through his attorney. He's chosen not to comment when we've seen him outside of different court hearings. And you can even hear the detectives who are asking him questions are in disbelief. What do you mean you haven't seen your children for over a year? What do you mean you don't know what condition, what state your children are in? It's interesting. And he also is a bit guarded, as one would be when they're talking to police, but he doesn't want to name the person who called him and said to come pick up the kids. He keeps insisting that he's just there to pick up his children, and he didn't expect to be sitting down and being interviewed by officers. We now know Ruby Franke had called him and said, go pick up the children. But it's interesting to see the mindset he was in that day. And then later on, the interview was a 180, that second interview with officers.
Oh, we are going to get to that a little bit more, but he was almost defending Ruby and Jody.
Do you know a female named Jody?
She is a therapist and a life coach. And she's.
Do you respect her?
Nigga, that's your wife girlfriend.
Do I respect her? Yeah, I think she's a very honest, truthful person. Yeah. Okay. Jody saw the need for me to get help. Frankly, I agree. This space has been exactly what I need to fit.
And I think this is before he's told what condition his son was in, too. You asked him a simple, do you respect her? He telling you the relationship he has with her. It wasn't bad. She's the one that suggested he get himself clean. She did get him out the house, though, so she could take his bits, but he got healthy, he said.
My own addictions and receive the support and help that I've needed. What's going to happen with my wife? I love my wife.
I don't know. I'm being honest with you. I don't know. Haven't had anything to do with
I don't know what started against my wife.
possibly. I think given the circumstances, that's highly appropriate, but again, I don't know your wife. I was hoping to gain some insight from you, but I don't necessarily know that that's something you wanted to.
I trust her.
A road you wanted to travel down with me, so.
It's all how they go to implementation.
Yeah, all right, I get it.
I love that life.
And that seems to be a
He
very
loved his
different
wife and
tune
he
from his
trusted
interview,
her.
what is being reported 2 weeks later with investigators.
Around that time, things with Ruby started like picking up, and I didn't understand why, but like Ruby wanted to meet in a parking lot and wanted me to sign over titles of documents, like the two of our cars wanted me to sign them over to her name and to Ruby. But I was like, okay, you know, I'm just not. I'm in total compliance mode at this point. Just like I'm a good husband. You see, you can trust me. And so whatever she asked, like sign over the cars to me, no questions. Just okay.
He was trying to get
And
back
then
in the
another thing,
house.
she was like, I might want to do an investment, but I will need your signature. Do you trust me enough that I could get your signature if I wanted to pursue my own investment? Yeah, sure. Whatever you say. How big the investment was she talking about? What did she say? She never did. I never signed anything. She never brought anything to me. But when I returned to the house, everything was packed up, and a neighbor came over and said she asked for the HOA rules and mentioned to him that she wanted to rent the house out. Which I was like, yeah, are you kidding me? And apparently she wanted to sell the house, but couldn't because my name is on the mortgage. And I think that's what she was talking about. Will you sign something if I just put it in front of you? And you know what? I probably would have. Like, that's how messed up I was.
I'm glad you didn't.
Me too. That would have been disastrous.
So Shelby, that's kind of a short summary of what he said later in that audio-only interview, where he also talked about the supernatural elements related to Jody Hildebrand, kind of like possession and all these things. And he's implicating her. He's even implicating at one point. It seems to be that he's implicating other people as well. And there he was specifically talking about how Ruby was trying to get him to sign over documents and how bizarre it was. Talk to me about what you made of that 180, because that was the thing that I took away more than anything. The 180 that was done both by Ruby and, well, not going to say Jody. Jody's been pretty consistent in what she said in her Jailhouse interviews, but the more Ruby and Kevin, like the 180 from defending their actions to, wait a minute, wake up call to what's going on.
It is a 180 truly. And the fact that it was only 2 weeks later that he had this change of heart on Jody, on his wife, and how their relationship had evolved, it seems rather quick. We know that, speaking through his attorney, Randy Kester, he says that he too was victimized by Jody. He was in this fog of connections, and he was made to believe that he had problems that he had to sort out and apologize for and sort of repent for. And then 2 weeks later, he explains in great detail to investigators how everything sort of fell apart within his family. And he called Jody truthful and beautiful in that first interview. And he was so concerned about his wife. And then in that second interview, things were radically different. I think the timeline, a lot of people are going to question. Only 2 weeks later, and you have this realization. It's something.
He saw his kid's injury sitting here when he was talking to the first night. He was just told what his son looked like when they rescued him. He didn't actually see them. He got to see. He probably got to talk to his kids in that 2 week span too, that made him snap the fuck out of what was going on.
certainly unexplainable for the rest of us, those of us hearing this audio and listening to these, watching the interview. It's hard to wrap your mind around someone having such a mindset shift in such a short period of time.
Now, you could argue that people who are awakened from manipulation, they kind of realize what happened, and maybe it can happen over a few months, maybe it can happen over a few days. There could be a change. You know, you kind of see what the reality is. I mean, at the one point in that first interview, he's first finding out what happened to his kids and is trying to come to terms with that and give it some time. Wife. And you talk about the 180. Let me just throw this out here as well, because in one of the initial phone calls with his wife, I mean, it appears to be that it's between Kevin and Ruby. This is from September 1st, 2023, 2 days after her arrest. Listen to what Kevin said.
I'm committed to our family. I'm committed to you and our marriage, no matter what happened.
Thank you. Thank you.
I will be here to support you in any way that I can.
Damn, Kevin, you pussy whip.
And we know, Shelby, that he is now filed for divorce. And so things have changed. Your thoughts?
He would pussy whip, or he would just get her that jailhouse lie. Well, all right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes tonight's news stories. See y'all tomorrow. I don't know what we're going to talk about tomorrow, but we'll figure it out. Until then, we out.